Hello and thanks for watching WhistleOut TV. Today I am going over my review of FirstNet. FirstNet is a first responder or medical worker only cell phone carrier that is owned by and operates on AT&T's network. So if you're a first responder, medical worker looking to get into FirstNet, but you want to see what the reviews are, then this is the review for you. Now, because I am not a first responder, my experience using this network is going to be a little bit different, especially for people who are running into the heart of the battle or going to be in places where there is lots of network congestion, because that's really where FirstNet shines. But I will still give you my review and I hope you enjoy it. You're watching WhistleOut TV. Now, before we jump into the actual review itself, I want to offer some disclosures about my experience with FirstNet and how that might have impacted my overall use of the network. So first of all, I used the service for just about a week and a half, so enough to get a feel for it, but not quite enough to where I ran into any major problems or I had an amazing experience. It was just a really average experience overall. So the other thing I want to disclose is that initially, my original cell phone plan is from AT&T. It's the Unlimited Elite plan, and I have the iPhone 12 Pro. Now, I had to switch out my SIM cards into different phones because the band on FirstNet, that is the big band that everybody wants, is band 14, and it is not accessible on my secondary phone that I normally use for tests. So I had to switch out my SIM cards, and when I did that, there was a little bit of funkiness that happened. We think my cell phone may have gotten confused by the SIM cards being switched out, so that may have impacted my speeds somewhat, but not a crucial amount. So I just wanted to set that clear as well. So originally, this is my iPhone 12 Pro that I use with Elite. I had to put my Elite plan into my iPhone 10 so I could use the full capacity of the FirstNet network on my iPhone 12 so I could get band 14 on my iPhone 12, because you can't get band 14 on the iPhone 10. So I hope that makes some sense, and that's kind of why my cell phone may have been mixed up in the process. Now, I kind of have shown you my problem with the network potentially, so you know what the baseline is. What did I like really quickly? I always had coverage for the most part. There were a few places up in the mountains where I wasn't able to get service, but other than that, I was constantly covered, which was great. And then what did I notice? I hadn't really noticed anything too special, but we will get into that. First, if this video ends up helping you or you like it, don't forget to subscribe and comment, like, and of course turn on those notifications so you don't miss any other content from me. I go live on Mondays around 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I have new videos that come out every Wednesday and Friday. So first, what is FirstNet and why is it special? So I briefly mentioned before that FirstNet is a specific network for first responders and medical workers. Now, how is this different from any other plan that's offered by the major carriers that say first responder discounts or medical worker discounts? Well, there is a really big difference. FirstNet has a dedicated line that is basically frees up during emergencies for medical workers and first responders. So this kind of happened on 9/11 when they realized these first responders weren't able to get solid communication in and out of ground zero. The government realized they needed to set aside a specific band for first responders, and now it has come to this where there is a whole network dedicated to first responders, so they are never going to be without communication in those dire circumstances. So that is what separates FirstNet from any other first responder plan on any of the major carriers, is that they have a dedicated line that will always be free in times of an emergency. Now, the other thing that I really want to mention that is the most important thing with FirstNet is that FirstNet's priority for data and for service is the highest it gets in terms of telecommunication and using your cell phone. So us normal people, me and everyone else who's not a first responder or medical care worker, when our network gets congested, our service declines for the most part, because that is how it's set up. Everyone's service declines a little bit when it's really busy, and then when the network clears up, then our service clears up. It's like driving on a busy freeway. When it's rush hour, it goes slower, and when it's 6 a.m., everything runs smoothly and goes speedy quick. That's kind of how our cell phone networks work too. If there's too many people on, it's gonna get crowded. The thing with FirstNet, it never gets crowded. You're never gonna be deprioritized. Your data's never gonna slow. FirstNet will be working for you always for the most part. Okay, so now that we have all of the basics about what FirstNet is and who they are and how they work out of the way, let's move on to more of the review. Let's take a look at FirstNet's coverage map. Now, Basically, FirstNet's coverage is almost exactly the same as AT&T's minus 5G coverage. 5G is not yet accessible on FirstNet. So let's compare AT&T's coverage map to FirstNet's and we will see the differences there. AT&T generally has great coverage in the middle America and on the East Coast, and it's a little spotty when you get to the West Coast. However, AT&T mostly has coverage where most of the people are. These blank spots are really empty areas where most people don't live. So you can see that these maps are very similar coverage. If you have AT&T right now, if you switch to FirstNet, you'll likely have a very similar experience, minus 5G access. So now let's move on to my experience with FirstNet. Now, overall, my experience with FirstNet was not great. However, that is not necessarily indicative of everyone's experience. I've been watching a lot of reviews and doing a lot of research. Some people's FirstNet experience is much smoother than mine, and that may be because of where I live. I just don't have great coverage, but I also already have AT&T, so it might be the fact that I am used to using 5G speeds pretty regularly and I didn't have that, and so it felt slower to me. And then it also might have to do with the fact that when I was substituting my SIM cards, it might have tweaked something in my phone that got it confused. So there's a few factors to talk about when we're talking about my experience, but overall it was a good experience. It just wasn't great. Okay, so let's talk very specific parts of my experience. Let's talk data speeds. Data speeds were not that impressive. Like I mentioned, I am used to using 5G almost constantly, and I was not able to do that with FirstNet. So I did notice severe decreases in speeds, and I even went around my town and compared FirstNet to my AT&T Elite plan. AT&T Elite won out with speeds most of the time. However, there were a few times when FirstNet did beat out my Elite plan. So maybe about 50-50 in terms of speed when comparing it to other AT&T plans. FirstNet did okay, so we'll give it a thumbs up for that, but not 2 thumbs up, just a thumbs up for data speeds. I will kind of go into this a little bit more. I did a bunch of tests with using data only on FirstNet. One of my tests was FaceTiming my parents, and they literally told me not to call them back again if the quality was gonna be that bad. They were really frustrated with how the FaceTime went, and here's a clip of that.
Well, this is horrible, absolutely horrible. We're dropping words. We've only had one clear picture. I mean, I would tell you, please don't ever call FaceTime again if this was what it's gonna be like.
Yeah, you're totally blurry.
It's just...
And besides FaceTiming, I noticed a lot of buffering when I was scrolling TikTok or scrolling Instagram. Whenever I was just on my phone mindlessly scrolling and watching videos, I did notice a lot more buffering than I am used to. So in terms of data, I was not super impressed, although I wasn't incredibly frustrated. It just was a fairly average experience when it came to FirstNet. Now, when it came to just sending out texts and making phone calls, that was a breeze. I never had a problem, and even when I was in a crowded place, I went up to Big Bear Mountain over the weekend to do a little bit of skiing. It was very crowded up there. I couldn't get messages through on my Elite plan, but I could get messages through on my FirstNet plan. So that kind of showcases the priorities here. My FirstNet plan had no issues getting through to my friends and sending out messages, but my AT&T Elite plan did. So in that regard, I was able to test the priorities of FirstNet, and it did okay. It just wasn't great. One other thing I really want to highlight that I almost forgot about that is really important. When I was up on the mountain and I could not get any reception with AT&T Elite, I did get reception with FirstNet, and I did a speed test. I got nearly 50 Mbps download on FirstNet. My upload speeds were dismal though, under 1 megabit per second upload. So take that for what it's worth. I did get fairly regular data and fairly regular service on the mountain with FirstNet. I did not do so with AT&T Elite. I don't really know what the cause of that is. If maybe I was strictly on band 14 and band 14 does not reach iPhone 10s, it's not compatible. Maybe that is the case. But with that, I was quite impressed with being able to get service on the mountain in some parts. It was not the whole mountain, but it was parts of the mountain that FirstNet really did shine. and I was a little annoyed with my elite plan in those instances. Now that I've kind of given you a review of what you can kind of look to expect with FirstNet, what kind of plans do they offer? Well, they have a few different types of plans. They have data only, they have talk and text and data, or they have data plus hotspot and tethering and unlimited talk and text. So we'll start with the unlimited enhanced plan is what they call it. So it is $44.99 a month. You get unlimited talk, text, data, mobile hotspot, and tethering. So if you're a person that is finding yourself using a lot of data and using hotspots often, this might be the perfect plan for you. And at only $44.99 a month, that is not a bad deal at all. Now let's look at their more basic plan. It's just unlimited talk, text, and data, no tethering or hotspot allowed. That's $39.99 a month. So you can kind of pick and choose if you want to spend $5 more and do hotspotting and tethering. It's definitely up to your own discretion. And then they have one more plan that's data only. So it's unlimited data, mobile hotspot, and tethering for just $48 a month. So if you only need data, then go with the data only plan. If you are finding yourself wanting to use a hotspot and tether and you want unlimited data and talk and text, then you go with the unlimited enhanced plan. They do have a few other plans that are pooled data plans. They charge you by how much data they are giving you. So there's one plan that's $2,000. It's between 500 and 1,000 gigabyte plans, and that is going to be a data only plan. I guess if you are wanting to look for something for your firehouse or your police station or anything like that, this might be a plan you might want to look at. But that is a very basic overview of the plans that FirstNet offers. If you want to learn more about those plans, I'm linking them in the description for you. So overall, I do say I would recommend FirstNet to first responders, the only people that can get it. I think the winner here, the big deal with this is that your data and your service will never be deprioritized. So in case of an emergency, you will be able to get a call. You will be able to make calls. You'll be able to upload and download information with ease, more so than other people would in a emergency situation. So if you find yourself in situations like that, you fight fires, or you're often going into the heart of some sort of disaster, then I would definitely check out FirstNet. So overall, I would say as a first responder, you should test this out. You don't need, it's not contract based, so you can test it out for a month or two and see how you like it, then ditch it if you're not into it. So that would be my recommendation for you if you're watching this video. Test it out, try it out. If you have great AT&T service where you are, then go for it. I think it is 2 thumbs up and you should definitely check it out. And just because I didn't have a great overall experience with FirstNet doesn't mean that you won't. I was not really able to put it to the full test of what it can do. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done on FirstNet, and I know that AT&T does have plans over the next 2 years to increase the service and to make it overall a better experience. So you can look forward to drastic improvements over the next year with FirstNet. And for now, try it, test it out, see if you like it. If not, then ditch it and come back in a year and a half when the network is going to be way better. I think that's it for me. Let me know, have you tried FirstNet? Do you like it? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Sherry Riggs with WhistleOut TV.